Hi everyone, Ken Cameron with Corporate Culture Shift. We're in the last week of our ATB Booster campaign in support of our Shift card deck. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for your interest in the Shift card deck. If you're just joining us now, we've been doing a series of vlogs for several weeks. So take the opportunity to go back and listen to all of those. In those vlogs, we've been doing a deep dive into every one of the different suits that make up the Shift card deck. But today what we want to do is talk about the flip side. And I've got a guest with me here today is Alexandra Hatcher. She's the lead researcher on our project. She was invaluable to the development of this project. Thank you again, Alexandra, for all of your work. And Alexandra, talk us through the flip side. What does it mean?
So when we were developing the cards, we realized pretty early on that it wasn't just about what that value stood for, but it was also if there was an absence of that or too much of that, that could be detrimental to the organization and the way in which it operates. So we made the decision to include the flip side on each of the cards so that there was an opportunity to have the conversation about the risk of not having that as part of who you are as an organization or of having too much of that. So go through a couple of them?
Yeah, let's share a couple of examples of that.
Okay. So let's take three cards here. So under the organization suite, we have efficiency and effectiveness. And on the cards, if you literally flip them to the other side, it provides you with a bit of a statement about what to think about when thinking of the lack of or too much of. So within efficiency and effectiveness, it's really about when you are not prioritizing and looking at how to create efficiencies and effectiveness, you can be spending your resources, time, people, money on things that don't matter. And if you're creating too much of an efficiency, you might be getting into some like siloed work or very prescriptive work where you're not actually being efficient with your time. You're just doing things because they need to fit into that particular box. So there is a downside. So it's about finding that balance as an example. Okay. We have abundance here.
Yeah, so I'll talk about abundance. This is one of my favorite cards. It's one of the core values that I selected in one of our previous vlogs. So abundance is an abundance mentality believes that resources and opportunities are unlimited. And it means that everybody can have a win-win opportunity because the more opportunities you create for others, then the more opportunities that they can create and the more benefits return back to you. So it really demands a win-win mindset and a certainty that we can do more together than we can do alone. Now, the flip side of abundance is a scarcity mindset in which organizations or individuals view assets, reserves, or supplies or knowledge as being limited, and they feel an obligation to hoard those resources internally within the organization. Now, one of the things that's interesting about the abundance versus scarcity mindset is both are valuable at different times. So for instance, if you've got something that is really strict proprietary knowledge, if you have an invention that hasn't been released yet, then obviously that's not something that you want to open source if it's something that you own a patent on. So Tesla is a great example of this. They've got a number of patents and a number of pieces of technology that they decided to throw open to the world because they believed that they could get farther together than they could alone. So that's an example of the abundance mindset.
Interesting. And here we have creativity, which for an organization that is maybe more traditional, like a financial institution or an insurance company, you may not think that creativity would be necessarily a value. But the lack of creativity, or the flip side, can actually lead to stagnation and potentially not thinking about new things or falling into old habits. So having an absence of creativity can be a detriment to organizational operations as well. Just as too much creativity may not necessarily lead to stagnation, but it could lead to not actually accomplishing the thing that you are setting out to do, that it's always just about the act of creating something, so not doing that with a purpose to move forward. So there's that abundance and scarcity thing a little bit too, in that if you have too much, it's one thing, and if you have too little, it can be another, not both of those not necessarily being a good thing.
I like that example you chose. One of my colleagues, Jeff DeBoer, who's a sculptor, talks about one of the problems one of the differences between arts and business is that business is really great at iteration. Once you've created a product, it does it over and over again and finds efficiencies and savings in scale. But one of the things they really suck at in business sometimes is creation. Whereas artists have the exact opposite problem. They'll create something over and over again, but they don't iterate well, because a lot of artists feel that if they do the same thing again, then they'll be accused of just copying themselves or being stuck in a rut. So they don't actually iterate well. So I think that as an artist myself with a background in theater, I find that kind of difference really, really interesting. And I think it was that kind of thinking that helped lead me and us to the idea of the Flipside in the first place.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us for this important part of the conversation where we talked about the flip side. The flip side of where we're at right now in our booster campaign is that if this is the opportunity for you to support the booster campaign, these opportunities, these prices aren't going to exist again. This is an opportunity to buy in now while we're in development and to support us in these early phases, and you're going to get a lot of benefits out of using the card deck, and you're going to get a lot of benefits out of using it early and as soon as possible with your organization. So if you haven't already, this is the last week. Don't get caught on the flip side when the campaign ends this week. Click on the link on this page and join our campaign.